All right, welcome everybody. This is the very first episode of the
Pilot.
Sim Golf Show. Until we find a different name for it, or if we stick with that forever. But
Yeah.
this is a kind of a video podcast. My name is Bobby. I'm from the Friendly Golfer YouTube channel. I'm here with Derrik from Roxor Golf, and this is an idea that we kind of both had, and then talked to each other and said, "Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that too," and wanted to kind of put it together. So the idea is that we're gonna get together and film this show and talk about all things related to sim golf, launch monitors, software, GS Pro, courses, setup stuff, enclosures, mats, all that, and just be able to continue the conversation, I guess. Right?
Yep, exactly. Pretty much nailed it. Yeah, that's anything in that category I think we can cover at some point in time.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of stuff to talk about, and in fact, Derrik and I don't know each other that well,
Well,
but we've talked on the phone once or twice, and it's pretty easy to get going down a rabbit hole talking about. I think it was Skytrack the other day,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden we're like, oh well, we gotta go get back to work.
Oh, also, I should probably add, you may know me as Bruce McDuffer in the Facebook groups and all that.
That's right.
So
You're a little mysterious.
I've said this story 1,000 times, but I'll say it again. I had a friend in the military that wanted me to have a Facebook account like 10 years ago, back when I was a prison guard. And as a prison guard, you don't really want all your family stuff, on Facebook because they get out, Anyway, so he said make up a stupid name, and this was back before any simulator golf stuff. So I made up Bruce McDuffer, and I would talk to him maybe 3 times a year. Didn't even really use Facebook for anything other than the groups. So when I started building control boxes, I was in the Facebook groups, and people would just say, get a hold of Bruce McDuffer. And it was like once or twice a month that someone would say it was no big deal, just keep it a Bruce McDuffer. I don't care. Well, I'm stuck with that now because now everybody knows it as Bruce McDuffer, and I can't change it now, or I've done past the point of where I could change it because it'd just be weird now. But yeah, Bruce McDuffer, Derrik, it's me. That's both me. Most people know that. Some people, they'll ask this. They'll tell me they talked to Bruce, and I'm like, that's me. But then I have to explain the story again. But hopefully, I can quit saying this story. Maybe I need to put like a little parentheses and put Derrik next to Bruce McDuffer's name or something that way. That's what I'll do.
Well,
I'll do
hopefully
that.
this explanation puts it out there. I actually was wondering the same thing.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, because it just I don't use Facebook. I don't have any family and friends and stuff that I even talk to other than a couple guys from the military. And even that's, like I said, it's once a year maybe. And we'll just, say, how you doing? And that's about it. So when he had me to make the name, I was like, I can't use my real name because I don't want people from high school and all this stuff I don't want to talk to you. I'm sorry. If I wanted to talk to you, I'd talk to you. I don't want to. So I had just this stupid name, and it just kind of snowballed into being stuck with it.
Know what you mean. So we've got Derrik, aka Bruce McDuffer,
Bruce McDuff.
on the show. So
Should
that's
pick a cool
actually
name.
probably a pretty good segue, because in this very first episode, we thought that we would just kind of introduce ourselves and kind of cover how we got involved in golf simulators, sim golf, and all that.
Yeah.
Because I think we both have kind of gone down the rabbit hole into this whole community, world, whatnot. And so, yeah, thought we'd just give some background in this first episode. So, Bruce, kick it off. What's your story? How'd you do
Sure.
this?
Yeah. So, I guess it goes back to mid '90s, and they had commercials on for OptiShot, because that was like the only launch monitor that the average person could afford back in the mid '90s. Because back then it was either, everything was nobody had golf simulators in the mid '90s. If you did, it was some huge, expensive setup somewhere. So OptiShot was like the first like home use thing. So I always thought, ever since I seen one of those, I was like, I'd love to have one of these in my house. So this was 30 years ago. So I decided I never had an OptiShot. But that's where the idea came from. And then I had an idea back when I used to build websites. There was a company that had their own launch monitor, and it was like similar to an OptiShot, the way that it worked, but it had a lot more lights in it, and the way that it worked was a little bit better. But anyway, so I called the company and said, hey, your guys' website's horrible. I'll build you a new one for for a used one that you have laying around. And they were like, cool. So I set up this rinky-dink setup in my garage at the time, and it was horrible, but it was still fun, and it kind of worked and kind of didn't. And then when we were going to build our new house, one of the things I wanted, I said, I need a basement that's tall enough that I want to be able to swing if I ever get a chance to put in a golf simulator. So we did that, built the basement tall enough. I got SkyTrack and just kind of half threw stuff together. And then I was dabbling. I build a lot of things and come up with ideas for things a lot. And one of the ideas I had was for the control box that, it had the functions built in the software. You could switch between games because I would play like back then it was GSPro. You had a little bit of E6 and well, it was like the beta version GSPro. We're talking like 2019, 2018, something like that. And so I started building the control boxes and then that kind of got me into building those and built those for like 5 years now and trying to come up with new ideas and ways of making them better. But yeah, so I build every single one. I don't have any help. There's nobody that helps me do anything. It's just me. So that's my full-time gig. So during the summer when things kind of, yeah, like that. During the summer when everybody is back outside in the summertime. So I started the golf clubs. I started a line of golf clubs just to try to have something to do during the summertime. And they're starting to overlap now. And it's getting a little busy in that sense because it's just me building the clubs. So I don't have to sell them for $600-700 a set. I sell them for $250 a set. I enjoy it and I'm not losing money and it's working. So that's how the whole sim thing kind of started. And that, and anytime that someone would have a problem with something, I was normally always available while I'm building boxes to just call someone. They can call me and say, hey, I can't figure out how to set up, this one thing. And I can just hop on their computer from here and just knock it out for them. And it gives me something to do besides just listening to Spotify and podcasts all day long while I'm building. So I enjoy that. That's how it all started for me and where it's at now.
From the little that I know about you, it seems like you're the type that completely has an idea and just starts tearing stuff apart to figure out like how you can build it. And
you want a sneak peek?
Yeah.
I don't know if I should show you. When we gonna post this thing?
What am I looking at?
That's all you get right there. It's an idea I had a couple weeks ago, and I built it out of cardboard first, and then now it's coming in a little fancier. There's something new.
Yeah. So how many different projects or businesses do you have going at one time?
Golf related, just the two, and then I guess we call it 3 or 4, but the other 2 things are just packaging product stuff that I don't even really do anymore. My wife took over for that, so she does all that.
Well, I know you're also doing something with some software.
Oh yeah, I forgot about software.
Yes.
Well, that's been 3 years, so I don't really consider it like
okay.
It ain't out yet. So yeah, we started. I had an idea 3 years ago, and oddly enough, golf simulator software is not the easiest thing to bust out. Worked with a few different designers and builders, and we were kind of thinking about what we could do. So yeah, I have a software I'm working on that's going to be geared more towards the educational side of golf swing and your launch monitor. So you'll be able to learn how to control maybe your path or your face and understand why it does what it does versus just giving you a number. So it's not going to have courses, but it will have games and kind of drills, which is the name of it, drills, that will give you drills to do to teach you how to maybe hit a low punch shot or a flop shot or how to hook a ball or how to slice a ball, that kind of thing. So it uses your launch monitor in that type of environment to, make you learn a little bit more. Because I think golf, and the more I've learned, the easier it doesn't get easier, but understanding why things happen makes me feel like I have control over the game a little bit more, even though, I know how to slice a ball. Doesn't mean I'm going to do it every time when I want to, but I know what makes it do it versus the time period when I look back, I had no clue. I played 4 years of high school. I had no clue of like all the ins and outs of what made a ball do what. So having just that knowledge of, if the club face is this way and the path is this way, that ball's going to do whatever whatever it's going to come out to. That's what's going to happen. Scientifically, that's what will happen. So you just have to, learn that to get a better control over your game, in my opinion.
Yeah, now you've got a launch monitor that's giving you that instant feedback, like with numbers, say, face was closed to the path. And, the kind of, I don't know, like for me, I'm very analytical. So having that feedback, it's like, man, sometimes I go out on the course and I'm like on the 10th hole and I hit a bad shot, and then I'm sitting there like, well, what
Yeah.
were the numbers? Like, oh, like, ugh.
Yeah.
I
That's one
mean,
thing that I've learned, that you can swing on Monday one way and the ball will do X. And you can feel
right,
that exact same swing on Tuesday and the ball does Y.
right,
But if you know why it's doing it, you know what you're doing. So you can have to exaggerate the feel of like, okay, well, I feel like I'm doing this, but I must not be, because that's not what the ball's doing. So I need to really feel whatever that movement is, or that
right.
feeling. Yeah.
And whenever, like, when I first started using a launch monitor, I remember it was kind of like, okay, this is like just having like a coach stand behind you and just like check you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, even though I feel like I'm in to out, I am clearly not. The last three were out to in, so I got to
Yeah.
change something. But otherwise, I would have just kept hitting balls, wondering,
Yeah.
what the problem
Yeah.
was.
I've wasted a
So,
good probably 15 years on golf trying to just like look at positions and try to fix little things in my swing that necessarily probably shouldn't even have spent, a week or two on, that I tried to, just dumb stuff that if I just paid more attention to what the ball was doing and what was making it do it, I could fix it a whole lot faster than just trying to match my backswing with a video of Tiger Woods or something, which ain't gonna happen.
yeah, it's surprising that we're not all tour pros, even though we have the tech now.
Yeah. There's days where I got this game figured out. And then I will walk out of this room and I'll be strutting and I think, oh, this game's easy. And
Yeah.
then the next day I get knocked back down and nothing's changed.
So
Nothing's
how
any
much do
different.
you get to play real golf?
I've played 4 or 5 times in 4 years,
Oh, wow.
and they were all scrambles. I
Yeah.
don't play outside. It takes too long. There's,
Yeah.
I mean, I like playing in a scramble. I love playing in a scramble. There's just a bunch of guys, because you're trying to hit every shot. Like, you're trying to pull off every shot no matter where you're at. You're trying to hit the best one. So
Right.
sometimes it's something crazy that you have to try to do, and those are fun to do. So everyone I've ever played in has been a scramble. But as for just going out and playing, I used to play in a league on Tuesday nights, and it was 9 holes, and we would start at about 5, and we would get done anywhere between 8:45 and 9 for 9 holes, and it took and it was a bunch of guys that were walking, and a lot of them were. I mean, there was one guy that had like knee braces and straps and metal on his leg, and he was walking, and so
Yeah.
it held everybody up. So it was just like it. I love that I can play that exact same course. Actually, I can play that course in 20 minutes here and not have to leave, and I still get the same rush and the feeling of playing golf, except it's cheaper and it's a lot more accessible, and I don't have to spend that 4, 5, 6 hours away of getting the kids away from school, and who's going to make dinner, and who's going to all that stuff that comes along with being a dad. That 4 to 6 hours is a little hard to carve out sometimes.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's kind of similar to, well, that part at least is kind of similar to my story. So I guess I started playing golf in high school.
Yeah.
I wanted an athletic credit, and if you joined the golf team, you got to go off campus and go to the driving range.
Ooh.
So I think I was maybe around 15, like sophomore year, and started playing golf then. I played the rest of high school and never, got good enough. But all
Yeah,
the other guys that were playing since they were little
I have
were,
one club for my first set from the
yeah,
very first set of clubs. I thought it was laying around here somewhere, but it must be over on the other side. But it's 514 that was a worm burner that we couldn't find that ended up in the hole, so it wasn't pretty. But yeah, I still have one club left for my first set. It was Northwestern. Bought it at Kmart. Still remember it.
I don't think I have any of my clubs from back then. So I played in high school and then clearly wasn't good enough to continue playing, even though I ended up like really loving the game. So I played for fun, with some friends for a couple years into college. But then, when those friends, we didn't get together anymore, I pretty much just stopped playing. I'm guessing it was probably around 20 years old. I don't think I even swung a golf club. I want to say for like 14 years till I was maybe 34. Just totally didn't. But I always, when I saw golf on TV, I was like, oh man, I kind of miss it. I'm just,
Uh-huh.
don't want to start over again. And
Uh-huh.
at some point, in my mid 30s, I picked up, just decided to pick it up again and figured I had the time. This was probably 2021 during COVID, but it's kind of gotten a little bit right after that. And so it's like, all right, I'm going to start playing again. So I actually live in a golf course community, lived here for like 6 years, never played the course because I wasn't playing at that time. And people would ask me like, oh, is the course any good? I'm like, I don't know. So anyways, I'm like, I live here. I should pick the game up again at some point. So I did that. And it took about a year, to get all the rust off, figure out my swing and all that. Then I find out, well, my wife gets pregnant with our first kid. And I'm kind of like, okay, life is about to change big time. The time that I had, I don't think I'm going to have anymore. And at that time, my wife worked late. So she didn't get home till like 8 o'clock sometimes, or most of the time. So I'd come home at like 4 and go out on the course and play 9 holes, or until it got dark. And had plenty of time during the week to go out on the course. So I'm like, I don't think I'm going to have that anymore. I got to figure something else out. And I didn't want to just kind of put the clubs up for like, the first 9 months, a year of having a newborn, because I'd lose all that progress I just, made the first year back in golf. So came up with the idea. I was like, let me get a launch monitor and set up a net and a hitting mat in the garage just so that I can still, keep hitting balls without leaving the house, kind of like you're saying.
Yep.
And so I was kind of like, did all my research and ended up going with a FlightScope Mevo Plus, and I had a net return net, and got going from there. And I remember I was like super, super hesitant on buying the launch monitor because I think it was, $1,800 or something like that. And I kind of was like, I'm going to buy the pro package that gives you all the club data if I like the launch monitor. So I'll add it on later. But I was just kind of like, I have no idea what to expect because all that technology and launch monitors and stuff, that all came when I was not playing golf. They wasn't around when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And so I was totally new to me. I'm like, is this just going to be a total waste of money? That is just basically like a toy, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I got it all set up, and it kind of like blew me away. I was like, this is not only not a waste of money, like I actually like this more than going to the driving range because I'm getting all that feedback, and I don't have to leave my house.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that kind of, is how it got going. And then within the first year, I was kind of like, okay, and I don't know if there's different people that are like this, but some people like to hit balls on the driving range. Some people don't ever do that, and they want to play golf. That's how they practice, is by playing.
Yeah. I
And
don't like that.
yeah,
I like just
so
hitting balls.
yeah, well, I kind of like the more balls that I hit, the more swing thoughts I have, the more I'm worried about my swing, the worse I play. So
Yeah.
after that, I was kind of like, if I had a big enclosure and a projector and I got something like GCQuad, which I had not tried at that time, I was like, maybe playing, simulation golf at home would be better than just hitting balls
Did you
on a
start with
range. And
E6?
so, huh?
Was E6 what you started with?
Yeah, I had E6 with the Mevo
Yeah.
Plus, and I
Yeah.
used it a little bit, but everything I heard was like GCQuad is so much better, and
Yeah.
so I was just kind of like,
Great.
I could see maybe this might be worth it, having like dipped my toe in it. And so I ended up doing that. I got a Bushnell Launch Pro, which every time I kind of like went a little bit further, it was kind of like new level unlocked. Like it was,
Yeah.
it was so much better.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I ended up starting the YouTube channel, Friendly Golfer, and a lot of it was just kind of like, so much hesitation about spending all this money on this stuff. And all you can really go by is just like what's on the manufacturer's website. And of course, everything is the greatest and, whatnot. So it's just kind of like, I really just wanted to show people what it was like
Yeah.
to own some of these products.
There are definitely certain models of product that are perfect for one person that are horrible ideas for other people. That I talked to a guy yesterday that put in a Falcon. I mean, I'm sure the Falcon's great when it's super accurate, but it was for a rental property for just random guests to use. I was thinking, I mean, I guess you spent about 18 grand more than you probably needed to for
Yeah.
something. The people showing up they're not there to look at their spin number, and they're wanting to just have fun and play golf.
Right.
So, he was like, wish I'd have talked to you before. I'm like, yeah, you probably could have, learned a little bit about that, because I would have not have pushed you towards that launch monitor for, I mean, I'm sure it's I've never used one, but I think at this point, accuracy wise, they're all getting pretty much the same. They're all really close to spin and numbers that are almost identical. So the only benefit it has over some of the other ones is, I mean, it's a ceiling mount. It's got a fancy name attached to it. Other than that, I can't tell you what the benefit of a Falcon would be over like an IXO other than double the cost.
Yeah, and it's really hard, like you're saying, because there's so many good choices, but they do have all of them have their own pros and cons. And so you really
exactly.
if you're going to recommend something to somebody, you really have to get the full picture of all right, what are you looking for? What's the environment? All those questions before you can just say, buy this, not that.
Yeah. So my room is a perfect example of why, if I didn't know what I was doing, so I have 2 ceiling fans that's directly above the golfer. So just because this room's 14 foot tall. So I have 2 big ceiling fans, and then above the screen, about 4 feet, is the mini split unit for the air for this room. So looking this way is nothing but spinning fans and motors, which means that if I didn't know any better, I'll get me a Mevo Plus. It'll be awesome in here. Nope.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be able to be functional with the fans on. I can turn it all off and it'll work, but that kind of defeats the purpose of having heating and cooling in a room. So just knowing that little thing is enough to.
Yeah. So it's like the space constraints and all that kind of stuff. Plus, then it's like, okay, do you have any left-handers? Is someone in your household left-handed? Because that can really make a big difference if you want something that's going to be behind you or overhead versus next to you.
And if you have a left-handed person and they're not offering to help pay for it, they're not getting a space big. I mean, that's the way I see it. I mean, if don't build your space for somebody else. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If one person, if Tom comes over once a year, Tom's going to have to tough it out.
That's how I feel. I get that question all the time, and they're worried about left-handed. And I'm like, all right, if your spouse or your child is not left-handed, you just find better friends.
Yeah.
Or they can build their own.
I had a guy once similar to that, and he was like, occasionally we have guys come over. I was like, I mean, if you really wanted to, just use a Garmin R10 when they come over and throw it down. And, whatever, I forget the situation, but it made sense in what we were talking about, of just buying the used Garmin R10, throw it down, play GSPro when they're there. No one needs to putt. Putting takes too long anyway, normally. And for him, he had 2 launch monitors, but it was for him that worked best because that's what he wanted to do. So yeah, it really, there's so many factors that can go into it that you can kind of corner yourself if you don't really know the ins and outs.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good example of why we wanted to do this show, is to have a conversation like this. Exactly. Because if I were to make a video, I'd really have to sit down and okay, do I not forget anything about,
It's the worst.
left-handed golfers and, this, that, and the other. And it's just so much easier to just have a conversation about a topic. So yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to it.
That's so many different, I'm just looking around my room thinking little things that I'm seeing, you could talk about the fact that I have, over here to the right, I have a little portable heater that I use sometimes in here. And if I had a Mevo Plus, I wouldn't be able to use that heater. Just little dumb stuff like that I'm sure the Flight Scope website doesn't say, don't put this anywhere near. I mean, it probably says in fine print somewhere, but it probably doesn't say it real big on the checkout of, if you have a huge HVAC system 10 feet away from where you're hitting, you're going to have problems.
Yeah. It's in there. It's in the manual. They've got illustrations and stuff,
Yeah.
But it's, but then the question, I knew about that before I bought my Mevo Plus, but my question was okay, well, I'm looking at everything and is that really going to be a problem? Or how much of a problem is it? It's over there. It's not, it's next to my launch monitor, but not in front of it. Is that an issue? So it's just
into Faraday cages.
you know?
Yep. You can build cages around certain things depending. And I had,
Yeah.
I've seen a guy that put, he had something weird, something metal that if you stuck in one spot next to the launch monitor, it blocked out something. And it was weird, but he was like, watch this. And he'd set it down and everything would work. And then he'd pick it back up and it would all stop working. So, yeah, I don't know what it was, but it was, yeah,
I mean, I guess for what it's worth, I've never actually seen actual interference with the Mevo Plus
I have.
that I can like know that's what it was.
Oh, I had one in
Um,
here once. Yeah, I had one in here testing it out. And,
really?
I had to turn the air off. And the way I knew it wasn't working was, it was hitting ghost putts, just continuous 65-yard ghost putts. And, once I turned everything off, it was working, but it was freezing at that point. And so it doesn't really work in the long run I'm sure I could have like put another heater over there, but I don't want to do that because I already have heat over here. I just have to turn it on. So, that kind of thing. So just learning your setup and your limitations that may come along with it. Maybe not. You may be open up for any kind of launch monitor. I mean, the ceiling, floor, there's a lot of options. But yeah, having the insight on what not to do is sometimes a good way to plan forward too. Like you don't box yourself in from the beginning with something that if you want to upgrade to, you got to do some whole new thing. Yeah.
Well, all that, product talk and whatnot, plus, the thing that I just enjoy a lot, especially is like the whole community aspect that kind of revolves around GS Pro,
Yeah.
especially. But, it's it's kind of its own like subculture, like sim golf within
It
golf
is.
now.
I think it's going to
Um,
grow even more so I was born in 83. I don't even know how old you are. How old are you?
87. So,
Okay. So you similar. So we grew up in the Nintendo age of video games getting a little bit fancier as we grew up. Um, so I think there's a group of kids that are even younger than us that came up in more into video games that kind of have this crossover of video game and sport, golf, that kind of thing. So I think it's only going to just keep getting bigger, just because it, time wise and the ability to do it for the cost of, I've seen setups for $1,200 before that people have done that. Yeah, so they're
yeah,
getting more affordable, and I think it's going to keep growing. Definitely keep growing.
yeah. And like you, I mean, I still play real golf. I try to play once a week. But if it's like I look outside and I'm like, oh, looks like there's a rain cloud over there, like maybe I'll just play, get my SGT rounds inside, or I'm like a little bit of a cough. Like I don't want to get out there and like, feel sick or whatever. Maybe I'll just stay inside. And if I get tired, I'll quit. But
I played
um,
92 holes one day in here.
holy crap.
Yeah, yeah, it was a few hours of golf. Yeah, but it was. I mean, that's never going to happen outside of outside of here. But
No,
it's
no. And that's
it's
the other, like, I live in Texas, and like the months of July and August, it's
hot.
almost too much to play in the afternoon. And, I pretty much only play on Friday afternoons. So if that's too hot, that's kind of like, I guess, my winter in the north where I'll
We
just,
only have two courses, so we had three. One got torn down and turned into a cornfield a few years ago. Um, we have another course that's an actual 18-hole golf course, and then we have a 9-hole course that's at our local VA hospital. And it's like the perfect course for any beginner golfer
Mhm.
or like an older golfer. It's completely flat. Every hole is like 310 yards, par four. I mean, it's like it's the best place to start golfing if you're just starting off, because you can't get in any trouble. There's no water, and that's really it, unless I want to drive an extra half hour or so. So everybody in my area that wants to play 18 holes, we have one course to go to, and that's assuming that every high school in the area that uses that course for sports don't have it already. That and all the leagues and all that stuff. So like getting
Yeah,
on, it's. I assume it's hard. I wouldn't know. Don't try, but I
yeah.
know that I coached golf for 4 years for a local high school. So,
Did you really?
yeah, girls golf, yeah, and so yeah, it got pretty cramped and crowded in there, and we were the first girls group of for our school. Years it was. We had our own. We was the first group of girls where we had enough schools in the area to actually make a whole. That's what I'm looking for. Like an official. It was ran officially through the. But anyway, it was basically that they've had girls sports before, but they were never enough of them to actually make it an official kind of sport for the area. So we was the first one to do that, I think, ever, a few years back. And
Cool.
So my daughter played she was our one girl. So I was going to be there anyway, watching. So
Yeah, makes sense.
I coached, and that was, it was a good time. And that in junior high, coached junior high for a little while too. And
Well, that could be a whole topic for another show, like, junior golfers with a simulator.
Oh,
you know,
it's the best. Like especially with Operation 36.
Yeah.
I love Operation 36.
Yeah. I mean, they do it out at my course, like in real life, but then I can only imagine like having it on GCQuad at home for a kid. I mean, that would be, like I said, that's a whole nother topic, but junior golfers on simulators.
So when they came out with TGC 2019, in 2018, I built all the courses that are in my county, which is the one they tore down. I was able to build it again. The one that we all play, I was able to build that one, the 9-hole course. Then we have another 9-hole country club course, but it's like whoever decided to put a golf course there is crazy. We did have another golf course, but I guess it was on the side of a hill, and they've actually had like 3 people die there just from like cart accidents. So that course is not even fun. It's fun to play in a scramble, but like it's too hard to play, like for fun. But when I did have all those courses on TGC, I'd bring my daughter in here and some of the girls that we'd play, and we would walk through every hole and be like, okay, what are we gonna do here? And they're like, oh, I'm gonna hit a 5-iron. I'm like, why would you want to do that? And they're like, oh, we're gonna hit it over this water. And how far do you hit a 5-iron? Like 100 yards. Well, you're not hitting over this water because the water's little things like that. You can really walk them through. Now with GCQuad, there aren't that as many courses to be able to do that with yet. But if you were like a super motivated parent and wanted to drop the $1,500 to $2,500 to have a local course built, get with the other coaches in the area. I'm sure they'll all chip in, pay your $250 each, get the course built, and then have all your kids be able to play all year long, and same courses that they're going to be able to play during the actual season, and really be able to talk and walk through them and let them, let them kind of do a practice run and let them. A lot of golf is just making the right decision a lot of times.
Right.
So being able to get into their head while they're playing and just say, what are you thinking? And they're like, I'm going to hit a pitching wedge. Like, why? You're on the tee box. It's par 5. Little things like that. You're like, no. So that's one of the great benefits of having a simulator too.
Yeah. Many benefits, for game improvement, plus just entertainment, just fun.
Yeah. Exercise.
But, I think that'll probably wrap up the first episode. Really excited to keep going with this. I think we got a lot of topics we can talk about. I'd like to have some guests on from different aspects of the sim golf world, maybe in the future.
I know a couple people.
We'll see how it goes.
Yep, absolutely. I got a couple people in mind. I'm sure we could throw them on here and just let them teach us a lesson or two on some things. I'm sure there's a lot of guys that do a lot of actual launch monitor testing. They really get into it a lot, which I would love to do. I could watch launch monitor testing videos all day.
Yeah.
2 launch monitors, hit a ball, and just see how they're different all day long.
I would love to know from an engineer at one of those companies, like kind of what's happening under the hood a little bit.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is, some of it is, not very public information, right?
Yeah.
But, and some of it's more than others. But anyways, yeah.
Trying to come up with an algorithm for how golf ball flies.
Yeah.
3 years so far. And we're there where we're like, okay, I can show this to somebody and not be embarrassed.
You would know better than anybody. Definitely better than me.
That part's, but the science that would go into it would be interesting to know for the cameras and the radar. The radar seems confusing to me. I know how it works, but not exactly every little piece of it. But, yeah. But all right,
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave us a comment or let us know if you have any suggestions. We'd love to hear them, and
Yeah. Ask
excited to keep
questions.
doing this for you.
I would hate to. I mean, your fastest way to get an answer is probably just get in the Facebook group and just ask,
Yeah.
how does this work or whatever. But if there's something that you can think of now and you want to ask and don't want to ask in the group for whatever reason, yeah, throw it down there. I'll happily come up with an answer or make something up.
Somehow, with all the stuff he's got going on, he still is offering to help with tech support.
Yeah, I'd help you out with anything. I've only been stumped once. One time.
Yeah.
I ever been stumped, and he knows about that little issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, one time.
Okay, guys. We'll see you in the next episode. Appreciate it.